Hello everyone and welcome to an amazing game that I've never shown on the channel, which is pretty amazing, and the reason I'm showing it is twofold. It is Petr Leko versus Teimour Radjabov of the Linares tournament of 2003, and a lot of you guys have been requesting for me to show some Petr Leko games, as we've been seeing a lot of Vincent Keimer nowadays. He's been crushing everyone, and I think from 2017 onwards, Petr Leko has been sort of a coach and a mentor to Vincent. And you guys said, okay, let's check out some of Leko's games. So that is one of the reasons I'm showing it. And the other one is I woke up very, very early today. I live in Croatia. I wanted to, watch the Kamzat versus Drikus fight, and I was very, very happy with what I've seen. I know most people prefer stand-up fight instead of 25 minutes of grappling, but I'm sure you guys, as chess players, can appreciate, such a match. So yeah, that led me to find this game, as I thought, okay, we already had a very nice start to the Sunday. Why not improve it even further? But we need a really, really nice game. And this is one such game where Leko, he was 24 years old, I think, when this game was played. Radjabov was 16. Everyone knows that, as this is the legendary tournament where 16-year-old Radjabov defeated none other than Garry Kasparov with the black pieces. If you haven't seen that game, I really recommend you check it out. We'll put a link to it in the description below. But even with that achievement, he was still sort of an underdog in the tournament. He was, for example, world number 45, whereas Leko was world number 4 at the time this game was played. Kasparov was the only 2800 player on the planet, I think around 2835. And Leko started very early. He was definitely a prodigy. He got his international master title at 12. He became a grandmaster at 14 years and something. He at the time, Judith Polgar was the youngest grandmaster, the youngest person ever to become a grandmaster, overtaking the record of Bobby Fischer, and it was Petr Leko who overtook the record of Judith Polgar. And he played world championships since he was like 10 years old. He got the bronze when he was 10, then he got silver when he was 12, then he got, I think, another silver or bronze when he was 14. Then at 16, he got gold at the under 16 world chess championship, and he's just been present throughout his entire life. He got very, very close to becoming world champion. As you know, in 2004, he played a world chess championship match against Vladimir Kramnik and almost did it. It was the score was a tie, 7-7, and Kramnik, as the reigning world champion, retained the title. But also some incredible games were featured in that event. If you haven't seen, it's one of Leko's most famous games. I covered it 7 years ago, so you can check it out. We'll also put a link to it in the description below. I was thinking about redoing that game, but then I decided, no, let's just leave it as it is. Also, you have Medo rolling around on the couch in the background, so I think it's a nice bit of history. But yeah, he was originally, Leko was born in it was Yugoslavia at the time, in Subotica. Now it's Serbia, and he moved to Hungary when he was 1. He was born to Hungarian parents and started learning chess very early on at the age of 7. So yeah, basically playing chess his entire life. And if you've ever watched Leko's streams when he's streaming from his own room, not from some professional studio, he has a lot of books, a lot of memorabilia. He has a katana sword on the back of his wall. He loves Musashi Miyamoto, for example. He talked about the Book of 5 Rings, how you can learn a lot from it. I think I even read it due to it being Leko's recommendation. And all around an incredible player. Basically, 2 incredible players facing each other, and that is the game that I've chosen for today. So let's check it out. Peter with white opens with pawn to e4, and Teimour goes for pawn to e6. He goes for the French defense. We have pawn to, sorry, that's not a d-pawn, pawn to d4. We have pawn to d5, and knight to c3. We have knight to f6, and there are some moves you can consider here, like you can advance the pawn, you can capture on d5. Bishop to g5 is the main line. So this is the classical French, and again, it can be met with bishop e7. You can capture on e4. Bishop to b4 is the 3rd most popular continuation even today. This is what Teimour goes for, and now pawn to e5. It seems like you've blundered a piece, but not really. It's a very well-known line. Pawn to h6. It's called the McCutcheon. French of the advanced variation. Bishop back to d2, and captures on c3. And while you could capture with the bishop, b captures on c3. is how the line is played. Knight to e4 and queen g4, another standard anti-French move. We have pawn to g6 and bishop to d3, just challenging the knight. Knight captures on d2 and king captures on d2, and pawn to c5, of course, going after that white king. Queen is coming to a5, you're going to capture on d4, knight coming to c6. So again, very standard stuff and thousands of games in the database, so they are not doing anything weird here. h4, we have bishop to d7 and pawn to h5 by Leko, g5, and now pawn to f4, trying to open up the king side and go after the black king. We have knight to c6 and f captures on g5. And interestingly, Leko already played this exact game. He played it in 1999 against Nigel Short in the European Championship. And in that game, Short captured on g5, queens were traded, then something like king to e3 was played. In the end, the game ended in a draw. But here, Teimour played queen to a5, and it was now, as of move 14, that we had, or now have, a completely new game. Some games have reached this position, but only after this game was played. So at the time, it was a new move. And this is where our story begins. And okay, what do you play here? Well, Leko goes d captures on c5, which is a very bold move, a very straightforward move, and tripling his own pawns, definitely not an easy decision. And Radjabov strikes with pawn to d4. Of course, the c pawn is pinned, so you don't have to worry about that. But Peter just continues with knight to f3. Okay, we have castles queenside. It's not like you can do anything about this tension here. And rook 8 to b1, announcing that he's ready to play rook b3 and double up on the b file, go after the b7 weakness. And okay, d captures on c3. You could also consider queen captures, but after king to e2, there's really no good way of putting pressure on that white king. The d4 pawn, if anything, is sort of an obstacle for black. So after rook 8 to b1, d captures on c3 with check. We have king to e2 and now rook h to g8. Maybe over pushing a little bit, but Teimour, I think, was ready to over push every game in this tournament, because this was played in round 7, and in round 2 was his famous game where he defeated Kasparov with the black pieces. And Kasparov was, I mean, he was the only 2800 player on the planet. That would make you go for it against anyone. But maybe, you know, h captures on g5 was the more friendly decision here. For example, if h6, you're going to play a6, pawn to h7, and okay, there's a pawn on h7, but you play queen captures on c5, and okay, now you can activate. It's not easy for white to play this either. If you could capture on c5, but then you give up the b4 square. Then the knight comes to b4, and then again you could have problems. But okay, after king e2, rook h to g8, and queen to e4. A very, very interesting move by Leko, centralizing the queen and not caring about the g pawn and saying, okay, everything I have is going after that b7 pawn. So queen to c7. Okay, adding a defender, we have pawn to g4. Again, saying I don't care about the pawn on g5. And while you could capture it, you know, if you capture with the h pawn, then the white's h pawn starts marching forward. You could definitely consider rook captures on g5. And then if knight captures on g5, then the e5 pawn has been weakened. Knight captures on e5. And we reach something that Radjabov, considering what he played against Kasparov, you know, could definitely go for. But instead, he played knight to e7, and now we have bishop to b5. Okay, so you want black to capture, and if black captures, you're going to play rook captures on b5. You're going to bring the other rook to b1, and now the absence of the light square bishop will definitely be felt in, you know, trying to defend that b7 pawn. So after bishop to b5, h captures on g5, and now again you could start advancing the h pawn or capture on d7, but no, Peter goes rook to b3. We have knight to d5, and now rook h to b1, and it's almost impossible to defend this position. I say almost because I will give you a chance, just to, you know, for you to get the you know, in the spirit of the position. Try to defend this with black. What would you play here? The only way to defend this is to play pawn to f5. And again, not a very easy decision. Point being that now white has to play e captures on f6. If you don't play this, then you're just worse. So after e captures, you get to play knight captures, which comes with tempo. You attack the white queen, and after the white queen move, or you can offer a queen trade, then black is perfectly fine. Or even if you go queen to c4, then you trade on b5, and then after queen captures, yes, you have a triple threat here, but there's rook g7, and now everything is nicely defended, and you don't have to worry. If pawn to c6, you can even strike with rook to d2 with check. And now if knight captures on d2, there's queen to h2 check, and now you will have all sorts of perpetual ideas here. So that's only one way to do it. But yeah, f5 definitely not an easy move to find here. Teimour played queen to bishop to c6, and now the position is winning, but Leko had to see so incredibly far. He had to calculate this. I have no idea what the situation on the clock was, but I would be very interested to know. Have at it. Feel free to pause the video and try to see what Leko saw here while I give you a couple of seconds. Take a couple of minutes. So this is the incredible variation. Bishop captures on c6. And okay, it's probably the first move that comes to mind, but how does black reply? If you capture with the pawn, then it's a very simple queen c4 or queen to a4, and not a lot for black to do. You can never run away with the king, as rook b7 wins the black queen. So you're going to play some knight f4 check, okay, king f2, you play something like rook to d5, make some moves, but then all of a sudden queen a6 check, and after king d8, now rook, you can either give a check or rook b7 first, and that's it. Not a move for that black queen. If of course you go to c8, then rook b8 again wins the queen, and that's it. So of course Teimour played queen captures on c6, and now comes knight to d4, attacking the black queen. So again, can you capture on c5? Yes, you can, but you lose the game. Rook captures on b7. And again, what do you play here? If knight to f4 with check, trying to expose that knight on d4, doesn't matter. King to f3. And that's all there is to it. You cannot capture the knight. For example, rook captures on d4, rook to b8 with check, king to d7 or wherever, rook 1 to b7 with check, and there are no squares for that black king. The queen has to go back, and now rook captures, king captures, and queen b7 will be checkmate. Or even if you don't capture on d4, you can go, if you don't want to capture, you can go knight back to d5. Makes no difference. You're just going to go rook to b8 with check, king to c7, and rook, well, to b7 checkmate, or any other line, because all of them are winning. So after knight to d4, queen to a6 check was played by Teimour. We have king to e1, and now rook to d7, finally adding another defender to that b7 pawn, but now pawn to c6. And again, not much for Radjabov to do here. He played rook to c7. Now comes rook captures on b7. We have rook captures on b7, rook captures on b7, and now knight to b6. And even though it seems like maybe he's defending, he's really not. Look at this. Queen to h7. You're attacking the rook. What do you play? Okay, rook f8, hoping that maybe, you know, rook captures on f7, you get some attackers off the board. No, Leko goes queen to g7. Now attacks the rook on f8, and again, not much for you to do. If you move the rook, queen captures on f7, will very quickly end the game. So queen to a3 was played. For some reason, the highlighted move, defending the rook on f8, but this loses in a most spectacular way. So feel free to pause the video and improve your own Sunday while I give you a couple of seconds. Of course, Leko, the samurai, plays queen captures on f8, and he was in this position on move 32 that Teimour Radjabov resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. And it doesn't look like there's nothing more to be done here. It seems like you can just capture the queen, and what's the follow-up? Well, the follow-up is why Radjabov resigned, because after queen captures on f8, there's only one winning move, but I'm pretty sure it's the only one you guys are looking at, and that is king to f1. I'm only kidding. It's not king to f1. It's knight b5. And that's it. No more moves here. Well, how do you stop knight d6? For example, you go king d8. You don't want to get checkmated. Rook to b8 with check. Knight c8. Okay, you don't lose the queen, but here comes knight to d6. And rook captures on c8 is coming. And if you move the queen, it doesn't matter. Rook captures on c8 with check. King to e7 and rook to e8 is checkmate. complements of the pawn on e5. And on the other hand, after knight b5, you could move the queen to c5. Let's say you don't want to defend, from a weird square like g7. Again, knight to d6 check, king to d8, and now pawn to c7 with check, where you have two options, really. You can give up the queen captures on c7, but it will do you little good, because first knight captures on f7 with check, grabbing just another pawn, and now after king to c8, you will trade, captures, and now just pawn to h6, and you cannot stop the passed h-pawn. And after c7 with check, okay, you don't have to give up the queen, you can go king to e7, but now you promote with a check from the rook on b7, and now after knight to d7, of course, a queen or rook captures on d7 will be checkmate. So yeah, beautiful game by both of them. They played really nice chess, but what Leko found here, some of those moves were just sheer brilliance, and just to be able to finish the game after queen to a3, which seems like it holds just queen captures on f8. I mean, just, as I like to say, disgustingly beautiful. And not only that, not only did he win this game in a most spectacular way, he also won the tournament. It was shared first with Vladimir Kramnik, Anand and Kasparov 6.5, Ruslan Ponomarev 5.5, Paco Vallejo with 5, and Radjabov with 4.5. But the only victory that he got was the one against Kasparov. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, we'll also put a link to that in the description below. And Leko versus Kramnik 2004, also check out that game if you haven't seen it. Massive Sunday improver. Definitely you have to check out that one. But yeah, crippled Kasparov. Kasparov could not recover for the rest of the tournament. Won only 2 games, had 9 draws and 1 loss. But yeah, second place for the highest rated player at the time, Garry Kasparov. Like I said, the only 2800 player in the world. So there you have it. That's Peter Leko, amazing player. Has the calm demeanor of someone who would read someone like Musashi Miyamoto, but also if you give him a chance, he will just do this. I mean, total decimation. So yeah, that's the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Nowadays, mostly doing commentating. Sometimes he does play a game here and there, like he had that brilliant win against Fabiano Caruana a couple of years ago in Bundesliga, and is training young Vincent Keimer. Vincent also says that he's not so much just as a coach, but also really as a mentor in everything. In between studies, they go for walks, they go for bicycle rides. So he's transferring all of his knowledge and all of his philosophy onto young Vincent, and you can definitely see it, the way Vincent is improving and the way Vincent is playing. And also, probably already mentioned this, the sponsors of this channel now, Lotus Chess, are also sponsoring Vincent Keimer. So also thought that would be very, very nice for you guys to know. If you still haven't downloaded Lotus Chess, not first, but I'll put a third link in the description below. Don't want to put it in front of the 2 games that I've mentioned, but yeah, also do try it out. Amazing stuff. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Miloš Knežević, Gerhard Henkelman, Amar Mirza, Derek King, and Hernan Escalante Jr. for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.